Welcome to Power to the People Pleasers. And I'm so excited to have my guest Fitz here. Welcome today, Fitz.
Thanks, Amy. Great to be on the show with you. Thanks for inviting me.
I'm so glad to have you. And you've got quite a lot going on.
Yeah.
You're here and there and everywhere, all over, being a race announcer for different events. You're a keynote speaker for so many well-known companies, a fitness expert, an author of multiple books, which I'm so excited to talk about today. Wow, this is going to be awesome.
Well, I hope so. I hope I don't disappoint.
I don't think it's possible. So, before we get jumping into our topic today, can you share with me, please? Have you ever been a people pleaser? What did that look like, and how did you shift away from that?
I imagine that when I was in middle or high school, I was trying to, like all unsure kids, trying to fit in and be liked, and I just wasn't as comfortable with myself. There was always a real fine line of right and wrong, which I'm very grateful to my mother for instilling that into me. But
Yeah,
cool, not cool, that's subjective.
yeah.
And then I got to a point, I think when I was about 21, I started competitively kickboxing,
Oh,
which was such a fun sport. And I probably retired with 30 something broken bones after 10 years of doing it. But the life lessons that I learned during that sport really had nothing to do with the sport. But yeah, I very much learned that I was responsible for me. Other people's opinions of me were none of my business, and I could feel okay with me based on that girl in the mirror. So some people look into a higher power. Some people are looking over their shoulder to see what other people think of me. I have this wicked girl in the mirror and she has a very high standard. And so those are the expectations that I need to meet every day is if Fitz Koehler is satisfied, then we had a good day. If not, I'll wake up the next day and do better.
mm. And you just mentioned this idea of what other people think of you is none of your business.
Right.
That is a really powerful thing as a teenager, a young human, right?
Yeah.
What guidance would you give people listening around how to move into that state? Because I feel like there's so many people in their middle to age time and they're still stuck in that.
Yeah, well, actually, it's funny. I think back to high school when I started teaching fitness. So I started teaching it about right before I turned 15. And I don't know if somebody told me this or if I just figured out, but what I decided was I can't please everybody, right? So I come into teaching fitness and I haven't done the exercise thing in a classroom in a gym for a long time. But at that point, that's where I was. And my style, very high energy, very noisy, very exuberant. And some people just don't want that. So it didn't make me a bad instructor, but some people just want a chill, relaxing experience. And so I decided if I could please 50% of the people, that was
Mm.
great. The other 50% could go find another instructor to their liking. And that kind of works with the world. I mean, I can't please and everybody in every situation, not with my looks, not with my voice, not with my books. Someone's gonna have something negative to say. And okay, I'll let them. I just can't worry about batting 100%. Nobody does.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that you use the baseball analogy. We're a big baseball family over here,
Okay,
baseball and
yeah.
softball.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody bats 100. So or 1,000. So the powerful word that I picked up in your answer there was the word decide,
Yeah. Yeah. Very much.
right? That idea that we can continue to decide to let other people speak into our lives and speak
Mhm.
into our hearts, or we can decide that
Yeah.
50%, that sounds great.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm responsible for me and you're
Yeah.
responsible for you. And it's very interesting to me how many grown-ups, children, I give them grace, right? They're kids.
Yeah.
But grown-ups who play the victim, who blame everybody else on their weight or their lack of
Mhm.
success or whatever. I'm not buying it. If you failed, it's on you. And this is the great part of owning your failures. If you
Yeah.
can 100% say, I am responsible for not getting the job or not doing a great job or whatever it is, if you can take responsible for that, then when you're actually successful,
Mm.
you get to celebrate and own that too because you go, "Psh, I did that, you know? I
Mm,
am responsible. I made this happen. So I think it's interesting how many people are always ushering away praise. Oh, it's the
mm,
team. It's and that's nice in many regards, but sometimes it's okay to say, I did this. I
yeah.
created this. And I have ownership of my failures and of my successes. And without being braggadocious, I can still acknowledge when I've done a good job.
Is that a word?
Braggadocious.
Braggadocious?
Yeah, it's a big word. Vocabulary. Here we go.
Totally gonna use that. Braggadocious. Oh my goodness, I love it. You know what? I'm glad that you brought that up because a lot of my clients know that we always start our coaching sessions with celebrations
Good.
because so many people downplay
Yeah.
the big and the small wins, right?
They sure do. They sure do. And when I'm sure we'll get to this, but I did cancer a few years ago. And even though I had a ton of support, I have great medical care, great family care. I felt like the world really was rooting for me and the running community especially was showing up with great generosity. But the reality is I it's a lonely experience, and I had to take all of those pokes. I had to take all of the drugs. I had to get all of the zaps, all of the surgery. There was even with
Mhm,
all the support and care, nobody else could go through the treatment for me.
mhm,
And it was all very scary and very intense. And I needed myself. I needed her to be on my side because I had to talk myself through it. I had a particularly terrifying experience in an MRI, which I'm claustrophobic. It's one of my things. I'm the girl. I get in the elevator and I think, am I willing to be trapped with this amount of people? If not, I get off. I go, okay, I'll take the stairs. Fine. So
yeah,
I'm a legitimate claustrophobic person, but I have it under control. But I get into this MRI and have so the breast MRI is wacky. And I think most people know for an MRI, you get shoved in a tube and usually you're lying on your back and they put you in and you're in a very tight space. And then Thor comes and bangs his hammer on the outside of the machine. It's boom,
yeah,
boom. It's really unnerving. But for breast cancer, which I did not know this going into this experience, and I'm supposed to start chemo on Monday and the cancer's like running through me like wildfire. So we have to get moving. And so it's Friday at 5 p.m. It's like a late they stayed late for me. Lady, she brings me into the MRI room and she says, "Okay, lie down on your face like Superman." And I was like, "What?" But I did it in my mind. I was thinking, "Wait, this is not how it works. I'm supposed to lie on my back.
mhm.
That's what I'm prepared for." But she says, "Lie down on your face like Superman, like that." And then they have a little dollar store version of a massage cradle. It's just crap, crap. You got to put your
Oh,
face in there. And then what they do is they take these plates and they pin you in by each boob. That's right. So you get in there and there's a hole for your breasts, and then they go bonk, bonk, and now you're like pinned down by the chest.
oh
And
my gosh.
and then she shoves me in the machine. And so I get in there and being pinned down isn't good. And in the tight space isn't good. And I lost my marbles. And I'm so
Mhm,
type A. I'm so very controlling me. But I got in there and I
mhm,
freaked out. They were screaming and flailing and begging and crying and
mhm,
hyperventilating. Get me out. And so she does. And she unpins me and then she's like, "You need to get in there, and you won't be able to start chemo if you don't get this done. And I stayed late for you." She was really angry. I was like,
mhm,
just give me a moment. I just want to put my hair back and gather myself." And so, anyways, we kind of adjust me, and she puts me back, plunk, plunk, pins me in again, and then shoves me back in the machine. And that was probably the most intense 45 minutes of my life. Now, if somebody walked in the room and they saw me there, they would just think, "Oh, Fitz is resting. Look at her having a little nap on her
no.
face." But in order to prevent the freak out and the panic and the hyperventilation, I had to talk to myself. And for
Mhm,
45 minutes, I went through every challenge in my life. It was like, "Fitz, you were a competitive kickboxer. You raised two great kids. You've built a global business. You've blah, blah, blah. You can do hard things. You can do this. Hang in
mhm,
there. You got this." And for 45 minutes straight, like a crazy person, perhaps I am a little wacko, but that's what was happening in there.
mhm,
And and then I got out and there were some tears again. But what I learned at that moment was if I wanted to survive, if I wanted to beat cancer, I was constantly going to have to do things that terrified me. And
mhm.
I better be damn good at talking myself up. And there will be no room for putting myself down. And so every single time I got that poke in my port or in my arm, or there was all sorts of scary things going on. She was in there saying, "You can do this. You can do this. Just
Mhm.
breathe, and you got this." And so, people need to be their own advocate, because at the end of the day, you can only really rely on yourself.
Mhm. Wow, thank you so much for sharing and sharing so vulnerably about what that experience was like. I was gonna ask you, I know you've written a number of books on this, the
Yeah.
noisy cancer comeback, your healthy cancer comebacks, sick to strong, your healthy cancer comeback journal, so many things to share your story. I wanna ask, a lot of times with clients, I'm really particular on the words that we say out loud, and you said, "I did cancer recently." Tell
Yeah.
me about that choice of words.
I don't like anything that makes me feel like a victim. So,
Yeah.
I can tell you that before cancer, I used to wear pink ribbons and support all my friends who had it. The second I was diagnosed, no pink ribbons. There's been no pink ribbons on my chest since then.
Mhm.
I don't want the word cancer on my chest. I mean, I'll go do an American Cancer Society thing. They give me the logo, it's fine. But I, yeah, cancer
Wow.
has enough place on my chest right now. I am not giving it
Yeah.
any more badges of honor. I don't feel comfortable with "I survived."
Yeah.
As survivor doesn't feel right to me. It feels right to other people, and I'm happy to
Yeah.
use it. I use Cancer Crusher. That is more comfortable to me.
Yeah.
I don't like battled. I don't like journey. I don't know why it all just feels very victim-y to me, and it's semantics. But I have to do what works for me. So I do
Yeah.
choose my words very particularly, and if it makes me look like a jerk, I'm okay with that.
Well, I don't think it does at all. You know what I think? It is showing your decision
Mhm.
around what your own, you keep referring to her inside your head,
Yeah,
right? What she needs.
yeah,
And that is powerful, right? When we're talking about this topic of how to get out of your own way, it's this getting out of your own way or helping yourself is getting clear on what you need to hear.
yeah, yeah, I've got very strict boundaries on some of this stuff, and,
Yeah.
it works for me. Cancer was hard.
Mhm.
Life in general is hard, whether it's cancer, it's a divorce, or you lost a
Yeah.
child, nothing's worse than that. So do the things that are meaningful to you, that
Mhm.
build you up, and, if somebody else says, "Oh, Fitz is a cancer survivor," I don't jump down their throat. I just don't choose that lingo for me. It
For
doesn't
yourself.
feel good,
Yeah.
and, even though I have these books, it's very funny. I've decided cancer will not be in the top 3 uh, pieces of my byline. Like, I am
Mhm.
not cancer. I am a fitness expert. I am a speaker. I am
Yes.
an author. Oh, and I happen to have cancer, and I can help you in that regard too. But
Mhm.
yeah, so many people are out there with the shirts like cancer warrior, and
Mhm.
great. It's just feels
Yeah.
bad to me.
You know what? I think, we're here on Power to the People Pleasers. What I love about your posture around this is that you are clear in who you are and what you need, and you're not willing to be in that state of pleasing others
Yeah,
because that the pink ribbon is what you are. And I'm going to
yeah.
use the word should because
Right.
that's not true. Who
That's
says?
That's right, who says yeah, it's actually one of the, chapter titles in my Noisy Cancer Comeback. It's something or other about pink ribbons, and I go there, and at first when I was writing it, I didn't know why I wouldn't wear them, but I second I got diagnosed, someone gave me, like, a hat with a pink ribbon, I recoiled. I was like,
You're
F
like,
no, I am
what?
not putting that on my head. And there were so many gifts that came my way with those pink ribbons. And again, the pink ribbon stands for research and success and saving lives. And I don't begrudge that. But for some reason, I recoiled, and I was going through enough to
Yeah.
do anything to please somebody else. No way. If it was going to make me feel worse, I wasn't doing it. And it was eventually later on in my 15-month cancer nonsense that I figured it out. But, folks, if things don't feel right to you, if it's a relationship or a job or the way someone's treating you, address it, right? You are in
Yeah.
charge of you.
Yes, I love that. So much beautiful posture around that. So I'd love to know. I was so curious when I saw your book title, since we're on this topic.
Yeah.
The noisy cancer comeback is. Tell me about the noisy.
Yeah,
Tell me
yeah.
about
So
this.
so it's my noisy cancer comeback. And if you don't mind, it's my noisy cancer comeback,
Yeah.
running at the mouth while running for my life. And
Ah.
when you're coming up with a book title, it could have been like tragic race announcer gets sick or whatever. I really would prefer people watch me stand up
Mm,
instead of watch me fall down. And this book is
yeah.
about the standing back up. But I'm a noisy person. I make my life
Mhm.
on a microphone. I am, if I'm famous at all, it's for making happy noise. And in fact, people hashtag noisy me all the time. I'm the queen of happy noise and bossiness. And, I really own that. So my comeback happened to be a noisy one. I was treated for 15 months with chemo the whole time and then radiation and surgery in between. I never missed one race announcing job. I think I boarded
Wow.
30 planes out of Gainesville, Florida to go fly around the country and announce races and do keynotes. And it was a noisy cancer experience. So that's where it's all about.
Wow. And, you know, is there one key takeaway that you want to highlight from that book for people who are curious about it?
Uh, yeah, a great bunch of great lessons in mental fortitude. So whether it's cancer or anything else, you won't walk away after reading this not feeling empowered
Yeah.
to take perspective, passions, positivity. And then also when it comes to the cancer experience, there were so many things as I was going through it where I thought, gosh, people aren't talking about this. Why is this a surprise to me? So I knew I would be bald and gray and sick, and I was all those things. But nobody told me my eyes might change colors. Nobody told me when my hair left, I might have a skunk stripe down the top because I had this tan line from my part. I had a tan line. So
Oh,
yeah, if you imagine being bald and then like that girl bald. So there was all this weird stuff
wow.
that kept happening. And I thought, nobody's talking about this. So 2 things. I
Mm,
thought the everyday person would get a kick. They would have a good laugh at my expense, and I welcome that. And then somebody who actually was going through cancer, well, they might feel connected finally to
yeah.
somebody because some of these bizarro things, you just feel like I'm the only one on earth. And so I get so much great feedback from people who've never had cancer, but then cancer patients go, "Oh, thank you for talking about that. No one ever
Yeah.
mentioned it, and I felt like I was the only one." So yeah, that's the memoir, and my company, Fitzness, is not about me, but for once in my life, I thought, "Yeah, I could talk a little bit about me because it'll benefit others," and it has.
Yeah. So incredible. I'm so glad that you did. So, in this topic of how to get out of your own way, you work with clients all the time. I know you do a lot of speaking and you're
Um,
race announcing. What would you say are the key ways that you would recommend someone, 3 tips for getting out of your own way?
um, 3 tips for getting out of your way. So this works in the fitness angle and the
Mhm.
professional level is, don't lie to yourself. Don't
Mm,
make excuses. Wherever you are, you did that. So within the scope of fitness, I could say, wake up tomorrow morning, get completely naked, stand in front of the mirror. Other than your height, you're responsible for what you see. So if you look in the mirror and you think, hot damn, that looks good. No, you
yeah.
did that. Yay, yay. You have done the right amount of physical activity and probably eaten enough healthy foods to come up with something that you feel good about, whatever
Mhm,
that standard is, right? If you
mhm,
look in the mirror and think, "Ugh, this is not great." Okay, well, you did that too. You cannot blame your dad or your grandpa or your family tree. Well, they're all obese, so I'm obese. No, they had terrible habits, and you
mm,
have decided to jump on board and continue with those terrible habits. So, know that you have full responsibility for yourself when it comes to physical stuff. Now, if you have MS, I'm not talking about that. If you were born with one leg, I'm not talking about that. But
yeah.
overall fitness and health, that's what we're discussing. And that same thing goes for your career.
Mm,
If you're not where you want to be or within your relationships, have you made bad choices along the way?
mm,
Possibly. Is there a way you could have worked harder, learned more, been kinder, shown up early, stayed later, been more forgiving or cheerful? These are things that push people ahead. So, number one, stop making excuses. Know that if you're not there, you need to personally figure out a way to get it done. And it's not because you're a woman, and it's not because you're brown, and it's not because of this. It's because of you. So figure
mm,
it out. So that's number one. Um, Number 2 would be doing things that bring you joy on purpose all the time.
yeah.
So even with cancer, I pursued my passions. There was no effing way cancer was gonna stand between me and this incredible career that I built and I loved, nor time with my kids. And
Yeah.
so I didn't wait for cancer to do the things I loved. I did the things I loved in spite of cancer because I know they fill me up, they satisfy me. And so,
Mm.
your passions should be a part of every day. Now, is it every single day you're going to get to go play lacrosse? Not, maybe not, but maybe once a week you build it in. If you love the outdoors, you got to get out there every single day, even if there's a blizzard or it's 100 degrees. Know what fuels you if you love the animals. And even if you're in the hospital, if you can't have your animals, fine, you can get on your phone and watch funny animal videos. So, um,
Yes.
passions need to be there no matter what, or your mood starts to suffer, and I think things go downhill. And then the last thing, talk yourself up. Be that coach inside your head.
Yeah.
Don't put yourself down. Build yourself up, even if it's irrational. Even
Mhm.
if you're building yourself up in a way that doesn't make any sense, that's okay. You will respond to the good vibes, but you have to do that in there. So those are my three. How's that?
Oh, so good. So good. Like, yeah, especially the last one. I recently had a conversation with someone about that very topic. And, sometimes we get stuck in the, well, I don't really believe it yet. So what? Right? Sometimes you just have to start with
Yeah.
those positive thoughts, those positive statements and words, right?
Absolutely. And people are so quick to exaggerate about themselves in the negative. I'm so fat. No, you're
Oh my
not. Well, why
gosh,
would you
yes.
say that? So
Mm,
instead, I'm so hot. I'm so smart. It's funny
mm.
when you glommed onto braggadocious, right?
Yeah.
Uh, I love big vocabulary. And I remember when I was in college teaching fitness at the University of Florida, I had these big ruckus classes, 50 people in, and I
Mhm.
was fun, and that's the compliment I got is you're fun, you're great. I had great workouts and so forth, but someone came in early. She was one of those early birds to class, and I didn't know her very well. She goes, "I was telling someone about you, and I was telling them how you're so smart." And I thought, that's the nicest compliment, like, stuff like that sticks with me, and I know I'm smart, I was a gifted kid, I did well on my SATs, I know I'm smart, but those are things that I should be putting in my head. "You're a smart girl, you can figure this
Yeah.
out," and I'm sure anyone listening to your show right now is a really smart person, and,
Mm.
they can convince themselves that they're even better than they are, and then eventually
Yeah.
they'll live up to those expectations.
Yes, and you're so right in that we spend so many people spend time exaggerating the negative, right? And
Yeah,
so if that was the only takeaway from how to get out of your own way is
yeah,
to recognize that, right? Become aware of that and, take the small steps to be like, "Wait a second, is that true? Hmm. What I really want to say is I rock."
yeah. Yes, and you're not a weirdo for doing that. In fact, you will be the person of your dreams if you start doing that.
Yes, amazing. Amazing. So, Fitz, how can people stay in touch with you, connect with you if they're keen to follow up?
So I love it when people connect with me. Clearly, I love people, and
Mhm.
I don't want them to just follow. I want them to follow and say hello because I would much rather have friends than followers. But my website, fitzness.com, that's FITZNESS.com, is filled with tons of resources, free videos, free articles. The exact formula for weight loss is there. All sorts of free. There's also an online course, and my books are available. I sign everything that's purchased at fitzness.com. And then I'm at Fitzness on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. I'm easy to find. And and YouTube, I got a big YouTube channel. So yeah, I'd love to connect with your audience because again, I know what they're about. They're looking at you saying, I want to be better. And those are the people that I
Mm,
want to associate with.
amazing, amazing. Fitz, what are the final words that you would leave the listeners with today?
Oh, final words. You know what? I just want you to do better and be better and put in a little bit of time every day. Take care of your body, take care of your mind. And if you end up with a really strong body and a really strong mind, you will be unstoppable. So get to work.
Amazing. So
Mhm.
get to work.
Get to work.
Love it. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It was amazing to have you.
Thanks, Amy.
And for all of our listeners, thank you for tuning in again. Please stay tuned for the next episode of Power to the People Pleasers.